You're listening to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast with Mark Allred, Court Lalonde, and Rob Tomlin. You can subscribe and rate our show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Player.fm, SoundCloud.com, and Stitcher Radio. You can help the show financially by going to the blackandgoldhockeyblog.com website and clicking on either the Amazon.com or Fanatics.com banners to the right before shopping online. Now, time to start the Bruins hockey talk from 3 different countries. Enjoy the show.
Orr fights to keep it in. Does. Has it in the corner to Sanderson. Back in front to Orr. Shot. Scores! Bobby Orr!
Ray Bork. Scores! Ray Bork from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Lemlin. Fired it down and Whitmore blew it.
Bounces down to Bergeron. He takes the space, pulling it wide to the right of Tatar. The snapshot over Mrazek. It's loose, and Bergeron scores! Patrice Bergeron!
Hey Bruins fans, welcome back for episode 88 in partnership with Grandstand Sports Network, the best view in sports. We are too strong today. We have myself, Mark, and Court with me. Court, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem. I am not in Poland like somebody.
Yeah, I know. What's up with this guy? Taking all the black and gold bank funds and traveling the world on a seemingly monthly basis.
I believe he complained all last year how he never goes on vacation. Now all of a sudden he's always on vacation.
I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4 times, but he's a lucky man. So
yes,
kudos to you, Rob. I'm sure he's not going to listen to this, but who knows? But it was, I thought, a very exciting week last week of hockey in the Bruins nation. So let me pull up my. I forgot to do this before, but
okay. You can start off with the win in Tampa.
Yes,
that's where you start winning the last 5 games: Tampa, Columbus, St. Louis, Dallas, Minnie.
Yeah, and oh man, my computer's slow today.
It's okay, I got it.
All
so
right.
we won. We beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-0. Tuukka Rask with a shutout. Boom.
Yeah. And then come into Columbus on Monday night, home game to end the 4-game road trip, and lose in overtime on a Cam Atkinson goal, 5-4. That was a tough one. It was nothing that this team could do. It just seemed like they were overly tired. Maybe a mismatch on assignments. I thought. Marchand might have floated a little bit, just for that matter, been that tired.
It looked like they were just drained.
Yeah,
it was weird. I'm agreeing with you 100%.
Yeah, I mean, those games are going to happen. It's just, it is what it is. Bad bounces. I thought Tuukka Rask played decent. I think he was one of the guys that really kept them into that game, even though they gave up 4.
Yeah, there was a lot of tips, and Vanek, the Bruins killer.
Oh,
hilarious.
God.
How that guy could just score against Boston Bruins.
I know, and that tip was unbelievable. I mean, redirecting it from 15 feet out was very good. And
and then it was just a bad goal.
Yep.
Grizz is backing up. A lot of people said he backed up into Tuukka. He didn't back up into Tuukka. It's just I don't know.
Yep.
It was a bad goal.
And then head back on the road to start a 4-game road trip against St. Louis on Wednesday night, and walk away with a 2-1 win. And
they lost.
Oh,
that's okay.
I'm not. All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, they lost in overtime.
Which it's frustrating because Hudobin, we talked about many episodes how he's been playing so good, and if you look at his record, he's only won 2 in his last 6.
Yeah, that is kind of troubling, but
it's actually if you remember at the beginning of the year when everybody's getting on Tuukka and no one's scoring, the same thing's happening now when Hudobin's in the net.
Right, with so many games remaining. Apologize for my mistake on that one, but it was the game that I'm looking at right now on Friday night against the Dallas Stars in Dallas was the David Pasternak show at the end.
Correct.
Which was a beautiful goal. Kind of got tripped up, but was able to keep composure and wrap the puck around. I believe it was Kari Lehtinen.
Yep.
He was a goaltender, yes. So another solid win. And we might as well do Sunday's game because we didn't do a show yesterday. We are recording on the 26th, Monday night. So
it actually happened.
Yeah. And the Bruins walk away with another a 2-1 victory in overtime. So
on the shoulders of Tuukka Rask playing phenomenal,
unbelievable. That guy was going everywhere, and even though he looked like he was leaving the net wide open, he got back in time to make some excellent saves.
Oh, he was on the on Sportsnet this morning. They showed many of those saves. Hey, when Joe Haggerty, who hates Tuukka Rask more than anybody else in the world, puts out an article on how well he's been playing, Tuukka had a good game. Right.
And it kind of makes you subject to when Hags is going to bust out an article saying, should we be worried about Anton Khudobin now?
Well, yeah, but, and kudos to Brad Marchand. What's that, the 5th game winner?
Yeah, that guy's just...
overtime winner? I think it's overtime winner, just alone. It's 10 game winners and 5 overtime winners.
Yeah. He's just clutch.
Crazy.
He's just clutch, man.
Such a good goal last night in overtime. Like, just coming down the wing, just bam!
He is the Bruins' Justin Williams.
Except with way more skill.
Yeah, exactly.
And we cannot not talk about the fact that somebody, St. Patrice, was back last night.
Yeah, which was unbelievable. We'll talk about that shortly after we just give a quick update on the upcoming games. Since we're recording on Monday the 26th, tomorrow night, they're in Winnipeg for a big game against a big Winnipeg team this year. This team has absolutely surpassed any projections that I've had to begin the season. They are an all-around team, deep in depth with Nikolai Ehlers. Is Scheifele, I'm not sure if he's playing.
He's playing.
And
Patrick Laine.
Yeah, Laine's a sick. Connor
Hellebuck, who's in the Vezina conversations now.
Yep, former UMass Lowell kid. So it's gonna be a tough test. And believe it or not, if you think about the week ahead, we got Winnipeg tomorrow night, Tampa Bay at home on Thursday, and Saturday afternoon. I'm sorry, at 1 p.m. You have the Florida Panthers, which they're in the mix somewhat. I'm looking at it right now. They're on the bubble. They are 3 points out behind New Jersey for the second wild card position. So, but they can still be that team that can play that spoiler, and they have beaten us pretty bad in the past, even though we clinched.
The Leafs could lose every game for the rest of the season, and Florida could get into third.
Yeah. Isn't that scary?
Hey, and also great news on that Saturday game, we might be seeing Captain Zdeno Chara back in the lineup.
Yes.
Sounds like what Bruce Cassidy was saying, him and DeBrusque, right? I still don't think McAvoy is skating. I just don't see it on Saturday. Hey, you never know. But I'm guessing you could say Chara is going to be in the lineup on Saturday.
From the updated injury from CBSSports.com, Zdeno Chara has not been updated since the 23rd, but he remains as a day-to-day upper body.
David Cassidy today is the one who came out. Said it. When your coach says it, I think it's...
right.
That's definite, yeah.
Rick Nash was updated today as day-to-day. Charlie McAvoy expected to be out until at least April 3rd. And
Backus will play this weekend too.
Okay, and then Jake DeBrusque is expected to be out until at least the 31st. So
yeah, now I'm guessing if you look at it, he didn't skate till today. They said it was the first time. If you do the math, he had a concussion.
Oh, is that 7 days, 7 games, or
yeah, that's concussion protocol, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
If you do the math, like I was looking at it, I'm like, he had to have been out with concussion, which sucks. I know all too well, but like if you're Cassidy. You're saying Saturday, but if Zdeno Chara is even close, are you going to put him in against Tampa? Because that's the big game, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a huge game, actually.
You know, Backus, he pretty much said, like, Backus wants to play. It's just all a matter of, we don't want this, this cut coming open. If it's the playoffs, in your opinion, who's actually going to play? If it's the playoffs right now, out of the guys that are not playing injured, who do you think is in the lineup the next game?
Oh, the ones that are injured?
Yeah, like the ones that are injured right now, if this was the playoffs, do you think they're still injured? Or do you think they're playing? Like, I think Backus will be playing. They'll figure out a way. They'll clamp his leg together. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
I think Chara as well. He's playing.
But I mean, when you come down to the last 3 games, and I know that Cassidy and the organization really want to get to the top of the league if it's at all possible by surpassing the Tampa Bay Lightning for a President's Trophy. Great goal to have, but those expectations should be backed off a little bit by these veteran players that are just returning from injuries. So this might not be a bad opportunity too, just to bite it in the lip and just say, listen, we're close. Let's not overdo anything and create a problem for our playoff expectations, because there's players that can be called up that maybe deserve a call. Who knows? So,
and what's to say they didn't already do that with Chara? What's to say that Chara was injured? They're looking at how they were winning, and he could keep playing. They were like, you know what? Let's rest him.
Yeah.
He'll heal up. We can go throw him back in the lineup. Like, hypothetical, they beat Winnipeg, which is not out of the realm of possibility. It's just Winnipeg's one of the top teams in the league. They beat Winnipeg. I would say they try and get some of these guys back in the lineup to beat Tampa and jump ahead of them in the standings, because they're going to tie Tampa, right, with the win against Winnipeg.
Yeah, right now they're only 2 points behind. So, and it's,
but Blake Wheeler's going to want to win that game.
Oh, exactly. That's like revenge.
Times infinity.
And I'm sorry about the President's Trophy. Nashville right now has 107 points, so we'll see what happens with that. Got to talk about Patrice Bergeron coming back from a 13-game absence and just seemingly fits right in like he never left. This guy is an absolute warrior. A fractured foot, if I'm correct on that. Comes back, plays like he never left. I mean, making the passes, getting into those areas that you'd think that he'd be shy, from going to, just to, while he's creating positioning and not, hurting that foot anymore. The guy just did it all, and I was so amazed.
Face-offs.
Yeah.
He was killing on the face-offs.
Yeah.
And to think, how long ago was I in Boston? What, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, the 10th.
And when I saw him there, he was on crutches with a boot.
Yeah.
Like, not just, it was a boot on that foot. So, like, wow. That's all I got to say. Just wow. This guy is just, it's such a shame, because they were talking about it today here in Toronto, how he was in the hard conversation for them.
Oh,
and
yeah,
him going down, it just derailed it. And then look at the game, he comes back, and he was, I know Marchand got the winner, but Bergeron was unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely an inspiration to be back in the line, and working with Brad it looked like they were having fun as usual.
And it was weird to not see him on the first penalty kill. They were Cassidy said he was going to do it and did do it. He's like, I'm going to ease him back into the lineup.
Although he did see a little bit of time. Not
near the
much.
End of the game, he was,
not
near the
much.
End of the game,
though.
he was back out there, and he was on the first power play again.
Yeah, so
I wanted him to score, though. Oh,
absolutely.
Awesome.
So we just wanted to give you a quick rundown of what was the week that was to the week that is coming. We have a special guest coming up next. After our break, we have Matt Kalman, CBS Boston and NHL.com contributor. He was a fantastic interview, and I love having him on. I can't wait to have him on again. We did talk about making plans for a playoff appearance, so we'll get to talk to him. We also, later on in the show, we have Josh B. He is Twitter account at 2Causeway. Spent a good hour with me talking Bruins prospects, so please stay tuned for that. We're going to wrap it up, Court. Excuse me. Please follow us on our Twitter accounts, shop our merchandise, bngshop.bigcartel.com. Plenty of inventory left for you to stock up and look good. We know our listeners are a 9, but you'd be a 10 rocking the black and gold stuff. And thank you very much. I think that's it. Kind of rushed this one a little bit, but it's all good. Please stay tuned for the Matt Kalman interview and To Causeway, some prospects. So take care, and we'll talk next week.
Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 90% rate. Jonathan Taves.
Backhand scores! Wow, what a goal!
Joe Pavelski. And Johnny Gaudreau were stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you are a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey. Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow @collegehockey.
Champions of the college hockey world!
We are back after a little break, and as promised at the beginning of the show, we have CBS Boston and NHL.com contributor Matt Kalman with us. Matt, thank you very much for taking some time today.
Oh, thanks for having me on again. It's great to be here.
What's up, Court?
Not much.
All right.
Just finally feeling the effects coming back from Boston and no longer having headaches.
Well, that's good. That's good. Glad to feel you're feeling better.
When people make fun of players for not traveling when they have a concussion, they could just stop that right away.
Is it that bad, huh?
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Oh.
Sucks big time. It is what it is.
Right.
Still worth the trip.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
And I got to meet Matt.
Yeah, hopefully I get to meet Matt sooner or later on the 9th floor. I'm hoping. Maybe next season. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's just get started. And I'll go. The NHL general managed meetings from the lovely Boca Raton, Florida area last week were concentrating a lot on goaltender interference. And it was a very hot topic, taking up a majority of the multi-day get-together. Do you see the league coming to a common ground at all on this ruling, or and secondly, what about the offsides rule that they've been talking about too?
Well, with the goaltender interference, I think that there's no such thing as a common ground because I think it's always going to be a judgment call. Now that they've at least put it in the hands of the office in Toronto, then at least you're going to get the same people making the call over and over. So maybe you'll find some level of consistency, but I think every situation is so unique. Every play is so unique, and then you have everybody's different opinions that no matter what they do with it, it's always going to be an argument. I just think this is all more about the fact that the referees got sick of taking the criticism, and so now they're passing the criticism on to the league office here. Yeah,
they didn't take it very well with the public from the coaches or the players.
Right, exactly. I mean, they were kind of, there's a lot of belly aching about it, a lot of crying about it, and I mean, you can't blame them. I mean, the different rules every time. I mean, you had the one with Jake Allen here in Boston, where they said he didn't make an effort to get back into the play. Meanwhile, he had been completely knocked out of the play. No one knew what he really wanted to do, and you've seen ones where it barely knocks them over. I mean, that one last night seemed to me when Riley Nash hits into him, he didn't really rush to get up. And,
right.
So that didn't really seem, but it seemed like everyone else agreed that it was goalie interference. I wasn't so sure about it.
In fact, he looked like he got shot. It was a very good soccer play.
Right, exactly. So, I hate the fact that, Colin Campbell's throwing all the goalies under the bus and saying that they all practicing flopping. I don't think that's true, but, there's always going to be some gamesmanship and there's always going to be some controversy about it. And there's nothing wrong with controversy. I think they should just stop reviewing it and just let the referee make the call, and that's it. We went, 90-something years without the video replay, and I don't know.
Right.
We survived, so.
Absolutely.
But I think the league actually likes this when they have all this controversy. It gives them people to talk, something to talk about. And I'm guessing, especially in Canada, it's a hot button issue that everyone's burning up the airwaves to talk about.
It is on every. We have, think about it here in Toronto alone. We have Sportsnet, which has 4 stations, not one, 4 stations. and then you have TSN, which has 4 stations, and then you have the radio stations of each station,
Right.
and they're all talking about this like they were, everybody gave their opinions because I guess it was originally brought up last year, and the refs didn't want to give it to Toronto, and now they've gotten to the point where they just don't want to hear about it anymore, and now they're going to have a retired ref in that room at all times, and from what they're saying, like these guys put in some ridiculous hours.
Right.
So,
like this, I heard someone saying that how are they even going to find someone to come out of retirement to do a job like that?
yeah. That's Nick Kiprios and them were joking about that. They were saying, who wants to take that job?
Exactly. And then, offsides. And what's the controversy that they're going on? It's about the dragging the foot.
Yeah, it's not about breaking the plane like it used to be. Now it's about keeping the foot down on the ice. And
it's a little too complicated for me. I don't quite know why that's a rule even. I mean, the breaking the plane seemed like I always thought that was the rule until this came up and they started enforcing this drag the foot thing. And
the rule is very vague.
Yeah,
it hasn't been changed in a long time.
Right, and I think if you watch now, I think guys are adjusting to it. I think guys are dragging their foot more often. I think that's why we've seen less controversial goals and less challenges. I think just like anything else, guys are adjusting to it. And if their concern is safety, I guess they don't want guys with their skates in the air, which never seemed to be a problem before, but. If that's the way they want it, I mean, I don't really see too much. Unlike the goalie interference, I don't see too many people clamoring for big change on that, and so you might as well just leave it at this point. Like I said, guys are adjusting, so if they're adjusting to it, what's the difference, right?
Right.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Matt Duchesne's, was it against Boston when he did it when it was ridiculous offside?
It was.
That's the whole reason this all started, right? That's the whole reason they even brought in the rule that video replay it.
I thought there was one in the playoffs or something against Montreal that's what everyone got up in arms because it was Montreal, I think. I forget what it was, though. Maybe it was against Ottawa or somebody.
Because most of us here in Canada, we don't care about Montreal.
Exactly. Exactly. But, once you get the right amount of whining from the right place, then you get controversy about it. But, that's another one. I could live without the challenge of it. I'm sure we could go back through the annals of the league and find how many of Gretzky's goals might have been offsides, and I don't think it was meant to be investigated that closely with super zooms and all these different angles.
I think someone looked back on that game where Lemieux got the shorthanded goal, the power play goal, the regular. I think he was off. There's a couple offsides and all that. Right. Offsides, to me, in my opinion, is the one they need to not review.
Yeah,
it's just bad. I think they need to change it. The fact that they can go back in so much time, like the fact that the puck can leave and come back in, it's so weird. It should be the offside should be only be able to call. Say they were, and everybody. I don't know if everybody else agrees. Just going into the play, going into the zone. If it's offside going in, sure, but shouldn't be able to roll back the play to win the puck. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I guess to me, if you're going to restrict it like that, and I understand why you would do that, then if you're going to restrict it like that, then just throw it out completely, because then you have to get at the nooks and crannies of, well, did he shoot it on the rush? Well, what about the rebound? What about if it's a tic-tac-toe play? Which ones count? I just don't even get into that. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, because when I was at the game in Boston a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't believe how many times after a goal, what's the first thing the coaches do? They bust out the iPads. It's the first thing they do.
Right. That's the first shot that the TV camera gets. It's the coach's, the top of the coach's head.
So to get back into Bruins stuff, Matt, I have a question for you. Where do you see Brandon Carlo's future now that with his play and the consistency this year, he's played a couple of great games lately, and it's weird. Chara out, he's played a little bit better, but I don't know. In my opinion, he's kind of went down the depth chart. What do you think?
Well, for immediate future, I mean, there's no doubt that he's on the bubble for the playoff, lineup. The way other guys have played, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you look at the time on ice and the situations guys are playing in right now without Chara McAvoy. Miller and Grzelcyk are your number one pair right now, and so in a way, if Chara and McAvoy come back, that could kind of be your second pair, and so then you're just filling in who's going to play with Krug and how much time they're going to play, and considering the experience that Adam McQuaid has brought to the table and the things he could do for you on a penalty kill. We know how vital special teams are. That could leave Brandon Carlo out. Now, Brandon Carlo's been a pretty good penalty killer for them these past couple of years. So, obviously that would be a stiff competition and a tough decision for Bruce Cassidy. But, I haven't really changed my overall opinion of Brandon Carlo's overall future beyond this year. I mean, clearly he's a top 4 defenseman, more of in the stay-at-home mold. Hopefully he keeps getting stronger, gets smarter. Tougher, and we've seen that the past couple of games, I think, where he's pushed some guys over and asserted himself, used that big body, and so that's what I see. I know at one point some people were trying to clamor that he could have an offensive upside beyond the second power play someday. I never saw that, and I still don't see it. And but that doesn't mean he can't be effective. We've seen Kevin Miller's game improve a little bit to where there's a little offensive upside, at least a threat to shoot, and. That's what Brandon Carlo is going to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can't have everyone be a Torrey Krug or even or Charlie McAvoy or even a Matt Grzelcyk. You need different kinds of defense to combine. I think he fits just fine for the future for sure.
Matt, with the way that Anton Khudobin's played this year, which is absolutely phenomenal from last season, we know that as soon as Bruce Cassidy came on board, his game seemed to pick it up. At the end of the season, but this season, in the beginning, he really stepped it up and was a key member of this team turning around when Tuukka Rask was struggling a little bit. Do you see the team giving him an extension, and if so, what's it going to cost?
Yeah, the second part's hard. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to cost and whether the Bruins can actually afford it, considering what they're paying. The number 1 goalie, and considering the cap's going up, but and there's obviously other considerations you got to take into account. It's going to depend a lot on what Zdeno Chara wants to get, what some other guys are going to fill in are going to get. But yeah, I think they should definitely look at extending him. I mean, I'm not sure at 31 if he's willing to continue to be a number 2, but I think if he stays here, say another year or two. It's kind of a 1A situation at stretches of the season where we know they're not going to want to push Tuukka beyond 50, 55 games a year. So you're guaranteed 25, 30 games here, playing on a team that really emphasizes strong defense, a team that has a lot of talent up front and in front of the goaltenders and defense and at forward, that guys that play responsible hockey. And it's obviously a perfect situation here. Khudobin found out what it was like elsewhere when he left the first time, never got really on track to be a number 1 goalie again, and he probably still thinks of himself that way, that he could be a number 1, but sometimes it's you're not playing. It's not like you're sitting behind Marty Brodeur or somebody like that at this point. You're going to get a chance to contribute. That the coach even at times will ride you a little bit if you get really hot like he did this year. So and the Bruins, with their goaltending depth, Zane McIntyre is having another great year in the AHL, but you don't know that he's necessarily ready to be the backup next year. And you want to make sure there's competition. And the rest of the goalies in this organization at this point are way young. Vladar and Swayman and is the kid's name Kaiser?
Kyle Keyser.
Yeah, Keyser. So, you got 3 guys like that that are still a ways off. You got to maintain that depth, and so hopefully they can come to some kind of mutual agreement where he comes back for at least 1 year. Maybe you give him that second year and know that if he plays well, he's going to be tradable. The teams are going to be interested in him if it comes to the point where McIntyre outplays him or something else happens. So we know how important the goalie situation is, and we know that the Bruins wouldn't be where they were right now if it wasn't for Khudobin earlier in the year. And you don't want to get caught throwing Zane McIntyre into the fire next year if the same thing happens.
Now, I read your article today. Great article. So all the listeners out there, take a gander into Matt's article today about Marchand. So my question is, Marchand for Hart. Like today, I was literally watching Sportsnet, Hockey Central at noon today, and they were talking about how it's McKinnon versus McDavid, but a lot of people are scratching their head on the whole McDavid, including myself. Yeah. I just don't see it when the team isn't making the playoffs 16 points out. I don't care how many points you get. You're not valuable enough. So is it the suspension that's holding back Brad Marchand from even in the – because they did mention him today. They said he would be in the top 8.
Right. Well, that's just it. I would say he's in the top 8, but I wouldn't say, I keep hearing people not even considering him because, like you said, the suspension and the injury. And, first off, McKinnon missed a handful of games with injury. So, it's not hurting him at all. And then the suspension, I don't know if they're saying it's just because he was punished that he shouldn't be considered or because of the games he missed. But in the grand scheme of things, he's a heck of a lot more valuable for the Boston Bruins team that's been ravaged by injuries all year, but is still just 2 points out of first place than, like you were saying, Connor McDavid playing out the string on probably the most disappointing team in the whole league. That's not no one's taking anything away from Connor McDavid. I don't know why people can't just, especially the people you're talking about on Hockey Central and all these other national shows, they can't just separate the fact that, okay, he might be the best player in the league. He's obviously, a great offensive player, and he might wind up running away with the Art Ross by 15 points for all we know. But how does that equate to being the most valuable player on a team that's, so far out of the playoffs? And I mean, it's not even like they're just missing it. They haven't been in the race for weeks. Mm-hmm. And, this is a snub, not just of Marchand. It's a snub of Evgeny Malkin, Alex Ovechkin, Taylor Hall. These guys have done it all year long for winning teams. I don't know what the obsession is with McDavid being in the Hart conversation at this point. I mean, at this point, you'd be hard pressed for me to put McDavid in the top 8 for most valuable. I mean, he's obviously a talented player and a great player and having a great season now. But geez, what the heck? I mean, he's playing glorified exhibition games, and I don't know why. They're running away with this, but I guess because McDavid sells, right? It's like
yeah, it seems like it's funny. One of the biggest backers of the Bruins in Toronto area is Doug McLean. He's really pushing Marchand, saying he should be there. He earlier joked that it should have been Marc-Andre Fleury if you're going to throw in Connor McDavid because where Vegas is.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's just it. You throw in Marc-Andre Fleury, you throw in Freddie Anderson. I mean, there's so many. I mean, you're going to factor in the goalies. Anybody from these winning teams is like a better candidate to me than Connor McDavid at this point. I mean, geez, it's like, great season, good job, but next year, maybe first of all, it's like I wrote, it's so easy to stay in the playoff race till now. I mean, the Islanders have been terrible for a month, and yet I think they're first going to be eliminated tonight. So it's like with these 3-point games and the way the divisions are aligned. I mean, he's got to be in the weakest division, right? The Pacific at this point.
Yep. This year it is.
Right. So it's like you couldn't even stay in the race till March in that weak division. It's like what? So what?
Yeah,
value
there's 16 points there. Like it's bad.
Exactly. So I mean, it's all well and good. I don't know how they're narrowing it down to those two guys when. I mean, gosh, you watch the way Malkin's playing, and it's just amazing to watch. And you look at a guy like Sean Couturier in Philadelphia. I mean, he's having a better season for a surprisingly successful team. More, much like Taylor Hall, a team that wasn't supposed to be anywhere near there. You want to try to tell me that guy, is not coming on in a Hart candidate? It's like there's so many other guys in a weak year. Not to like change sports here, but I remember the year Andre Dawson won the MVP in the National League. He hit 45 home runs, and they finished in last place. But that's because there wasn't anybody else that really, had a big individual year. That's what I look at it here. When there's a weak year where there's nobody on the like some years when the Bruins are balanced. The year they won the President's Trophy, they didn't really have an MVP candidate, right?
Right.
That's different. Sometimes you'll have that, but so many individual candidates having great years. I mean, the year Malkin's having is amazing. You watch him play the way he dominates a game, and then you watch Crosby even. Why? I don't understand what happened to did everyone jump off the Crosby bandwagon onto the McDavid bandwagon?
Whenever they mention Crosby now, they just say he's the best player in the league.
Yeah,
it's funny that like there's no one better, and like I honestly think that Malkin probably because of Crosby doesn't get the consideration. Like they say Taylor Hall probably could get it if they make the playoffs. McKinnon will get it if Colorado makes the playoffs. And they're all like, well, they traded away Duchesne, their best player. And I'm like, I always thought McKinnon was the best player, but I guess that's just the way I look at things.
Yeah, and then I think Ovechkin really gets the short shrift too. I mean, the guy. What's the most important thing to do in this league? Score goals, and the guy is the best at doing it. And so, we haven't even mentioned Kucherov, who's been amazing
right.
from day one, right? I mean, don't you give him some credit for being just consistent the whole year? I mean, he's been right there. So, I mean, geez, there's just so many guys. I don't know why they're so on this McDavid bandwagon, except the drum up controversy. I mean, I don't know how many clicks they get on these.
Oh, I'm sure a ton. And McDavid today announcing that all he wants to do is his focus now is not even on the season anymore. It's focusing on the World Championships, playing for Canada.
Oh, there you go.
Like he's already given, the season's already out the door.
Wow,
nice.
It's hilarious.
Matt, with the injury to Rick Nash, and I don't want to jump on KPD's article, but it kind of makes me wonder. I mean, is it a concussion? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I honestly don't. Never saw. I mean, I didn't see anything happen in that game. I guess it happened in Tampa.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he finished that game, right? So, it could be he's had, like you said, he's had concussion problems in the past. I think he's also maybe had a shoulder problem in the past at some point. So, when they say upper body, it's kind of vague. But I feel like
he was in warm up in Columbus, wasn't he?
No.
Oh, no, sorry. He skated that.
He skated in the mornings. Right. So I don't think they let a concussion guy get out on the ice for a morning skate.
Not allowed, yeah.
So I'm assuming it's some sort of shoulder or back issue. And I didn't read the article yet, and I don't know how much of that, just judging from the headline, was he really digging into the fact that Nash might not come back, or was he just trying to, be sarcastic about the Bruins not revealing anything about injuries?
Yeah, I think it was more or less a coming back issue. Like if is this
saying it was his last game?
Yeah, it is the last remaining games because to me, if that does happen, this just goes to my whole point on a previous podcast that we talked about was just a rental and and did the team pay a little much for a rental? I believe so. I would really like to see the guy re-signed if it's available, but I just think that maybe that first round pick was just a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, I never had a problem with the price. I think that they needed to do that, and I think we saw how good a fit he was when he was healthy. I mean, this was going to be a difference maker, but I mean, I'm not so sure I'm counting him out at this point. Where they got 6 left, 8 left over 2 weeks, right? So, I mean, and you're expecting to go at least 2 rounds deep at this point. I mean, that's a lot of time. I don't know that I'm counting him out. They're obviously not rushing people. I mean, they didn't take half the team on this road trip, right? And didn't want to rush anybody. And, I mean, just the fact that he's not on the ice yet doesn't really say to me. I mean, what if it's just like a little shoulder or neck problem that's keeping him out at this point? I can't see why he might be on the ice, Wednesday or Thursday and be able to play on the weekend. There's no minimum amount of time that he has to practice before he gets back. If depending on what it is, at the very least by next week he could be back. I mean, so I don't know if KBD has some sort of inside info on what it is or what, but I mean, I'm not going to count the guy out at this point. They're not going to, like I said, they're not going to rush anybody back. They're obviously loving the opportunity to see what Donato can do. As long as they're burning a year of his deal, they might as well let him play a little bit. And there's so many options at this point. You want to bring that guy back 100%, you could, wait until the playoffs start, even if you had to.
Well, now they bring it up, I just want to follow up on that. With healthy players coming back, what's going to happen to a player like Donato?
Yeah, that's a good question, right?
Because that seems to be the thing that's going on Twitter is a lot of people are saying coaches are predominantly going to go with their experience, and he could be the guy that's watching, and that's sad to say because he's been doing so good in his limited time in the NHL.
Yeah, it is hard to say, especially since he doesn't have the experience per se, but he's playing like he's experienced.
Exactly.
I mean, what you got to like about the kid is the fact that he's not intimidated, he's not getting pushed around, and he knows where to go. Not just to go to the dirty areas like they say, but just he's in the right positions. Kind of the way Marchand and Bergeron are, kind of in the passing lanes and kind of knowing how to be responsible, but then how to attack when he has to. And he's obviously got chemistry with Krejci. So I wouldn't count him out. I mean, this is the way I look at it. If everyone is healthy, the whole team, your first line, your fourth line is set. What those 6 guys are going to be. Krejci's the center of that second line. Nash is probably the center of that third line with Backes on the right wing, and then Heinen, Donato, Rick Nash. Well, Rick Nash is healthy. He's the right wing on that second line, right? So then you have the two left wing spots open, and is it Donato? Is it DeBrusque? Is it Heinen? Gianta? I mean, can go different ways. I guess you would count Gianta out if everybody's healthy. You wouldn't really want him playing that left side, and then he's got three guys for two spots, and I guess it's whoever's hot. I mean, and it might even actually be, that Jake might be the odd man out just because he hasn't played. If he's rusty, depending when he comes back, you don't necessarily want to throw him into a playoff series off the bat if you have Donato and Heinen going pretty good. So, it'll be a hard decision, but I don't think that Donato should be ruled out at all.
Now, I was going to ask it last, but because we're talking about him now, do you think that because of his experience playing with Gianta and the guys in the Olympics is the reason we're seeing the player we're seeing now? Like, I understand the colleges are different than the juniors that I watch here in Canada all the time, and a lot of players seem able to make that jump a lot easier. But do you think that playing that caliber of hockey he played in the Olympics is what's made him more comfortable, made him look like how when McAvoy came into the playoffs and he just looked ready to go?
It's hard to say that. I think it definitely helped convince the Bruins that they could do this. I don't know if they necessarily would have, bet so heavily on him if he was just coming straight out of college without having that experience. I mean, clearly he got a confidence boost from it. I don't think anyone's shied away from that. And obviously we're talking about the Olympics too. It's not like he was playing against, the best of the best. Clearly it was a kind of a B tournament this year. So I
think someone made it's a C tournament. You think about the AHL guys are naming that.
Exactly. So, it's hard to say, but I just think, and I only saw him play a couple of times at college, and it was really hard to judge then because I didn't really see the best competition when he was even within the ACAC when I saw him play. But I think he's just a special kid. I think it definitely helps to have the father experience, not just as the coach, but as the guy who's been there and has kind of instilled everything in him. I think he's very coachable. I think because when you have your dad as a coach, he's going to be harder on you, and I think you learn very quickly how to do exactly what the coach says to do, or it's going to be a hard time for you. And I think
that's an understatement.
He just has the instincts. I think, I honestly didn't see Teddy play a lot. I didn't really follow hockey too closely in the early 90s and when he was, really playing well. But from everything I've heard and what I did see a little bit, just he had the instincts, but maybe didn't have all the talent and made a great career out of it. And I think this kid has all the tools to go with those, natural instincts of how to play the game and how to play it right and play what's become a Bruins style, not the Bruins style has changed. It's not Milan Lucic putting you through the glass. It's playing fast. It's playing hard, playing with a toughness, but not knocking people over, blowing past people. And he kind of just fits that. And you have to give him credit because let's face it, when they drafted him in the second round, I think he was a little bit of a reach. I think people had him going lower down, and he kind of looked like a little pipsqueak. And you were wondering what kind of deal there was going on between Donnie and Teddy to get this kid drafted, and you could see the speed, but not much else. And it's amazing the 3 years here or whatever it's been, considering he didn't even playing at Dexter School couldn't have been that much of a boost there for that 1 year. He didn't really test himself for a year, so all credit to this kid. What he's done to himself to take advantage of the time you have at college. He said it in the summer. I'm going to take the time to become a pro. I want to help Harvard win, but I'm going to learn how to do all the off-ice stuff, the workouts, the diet, everything it takes to be a pro and play my best. And he's been true to his word in every way.
Matt, the seventh player award's coming up, and I really want to know your choice and why. And also, this was a tidbit that I got from a Twitter follower. Do you think it's crazy that Patrice Bergeron has never won?
Yeah, I don't know who won it in his rookie year. That would have been the year he would have been the one to get it. Depends who won it in 2004, was it?
There was a lockout year, wasn't it?
Well, the year before the lockout, the 03-04 season, his rookie year.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out of nowhere, was drafted that year, and but other than that, I think it's just always been kind of expected of him. I mean, after that year, he had that huge year in the AHL, and by 15-16, when they came out of lockout, he was one of the stars on this team. Especially they traded Joe Thornton a month into the season there. So
yeah,
that so I think that's
what year? Raycroft.
Oh, there you go. So there you go. I bet you if they had released the voting, it probably would have been Bergeron would have been second to Raycroft. I bet so.
Yeah, so Raycroft in 03, 04,
right.
And then you did have your lockout, and then you have Tim Thomas.
Yeah, right. Tim Thomas starts winning it every year. So the great.
And hey, guys, Tuukka Rask won it, but
Did he really?
Yep.
Oh,
09-10.
That's funny. The Tim Thomas thing is the best because when he won it the second time, he said, "I guess they have really low expectations of me." Because it's like, how do you win that twice? But I guess if you look back, Bill Guerin used to win the damn thing, and
he won it twice.
Yeah. So
Teddy Donato won it 96-97.
Oh, there you go. That's great.
And Pastas won it twice, and Marchand's won it twice.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, I guess maybe one other year that Bergeron maybe would have won it was the year he scored the first time he scored 30. Not when he was young, but like when he got older and had that first 30-goal year, and it looked, no one was expecting him to be the player he is now offensively, and he suddenly popped up and had that 30-goal season. So, but there's always, especially since they've been giving it to rookies a lot, stuff like that. So it's always a tough one to predict because you never know which way the fans are leaning. But I mean, if I was the picking, I would obviously be Riley Nash. I mean, no one saw Riley Nash. Does he have 16 goals now? So no one saw that happening for sure. I mean, if you asked me in October, I would have said he might have been the odd man out with all these kids coming. That at some point he would have been a healthy scratch, and here he is. He's been your first line center for a month, and he's produced like it. It's pretty amazing to watch that guy play and kind of fulfill the potential that he was a first round pick. It's easy to forget that. So
to follow that up, you talked about no one expected. Who do you see coming back next year out of the UFAs? Because it's tough.
It is. I mean, I mentioned Hudobin. I think that's definitely one you want to keep. Riley Nash, if you look at it, there's a lot of guys playing his position, and this whole Ryan Donato thing might end up being the difference between him coming back and not. Because if you can go down the middle, Bergeron, Krejci, Donato, that's pretty good. And I'm not sure Riley Nash wants to be a fourth line center, and I'm not sure he'd be the fit there. I mean, the way this fourth line is clicking at this point, it's pretty good. What's it? Tim Schaller's the UFA, right?
Yeah.
So that's a tough one too, because if you're going to get these kids coming up, maybe Jesse Gabriel's going to be in the mix next year, and so obviously I think fourth lines are really starting to go in a different direction, and I think we're kind of seeing it with this one, where Schaller has some pretty good skill for a guy on the fourth line.
He does, absolutely.
Exactly, and I think Corrali's coming around, and Knoll comes and goes, and so.
Wingles.
Yeah, Wingles is an interesting one too. I mean, you might bring him back and not bring Schaller back, because Schaller might actually be pricing himself out because people see what he can do, and we've seen that he's played up in the line before. I mean, this year they haven't done that as much because they don't want to break that line up. They don't want to, it's like Bruce is definitely thinking that he'd rather keep the fourth line together than break up all his lines to play Schaller in a more prominent role. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. I mean, all these guys that are coming out of college now, how ready is Trent Frederick going to be by the fall? I mean, is he a guy that they might give a taste, or is he a guy that they might want to do a DeBrusk full year or Heinen full year in Providence? It's hard. I guess this couple of weeks down there is to test that, and then you'll have Bjork coming back too. So there's not a lot of room for guys at this point, and the Rick Nash thing will be interesting too, because whether he plays again or not. I know, he probably doesn't want to move too much, and so it would probably just come down to a choice between Boston and New York, and you're not so sure whether the Rangers want to go down that road again at this point. I mean, they're in a total different place financially and with their depth, and you would like to see Nash play with Krejci a little more and see if he really starts to like it here, but it's obviously that'll come down to price too. I don't think he's going to be as cheap as some people tend to think he's going to be at this age. When you consider what Patrick Marleau got at 38 years old, I don't think 33-year-old Rick Nash is looking to take a bargain at this point.
Yeah, or even what Backus got, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, well, that might be more of a comparable. I mean, because they obviously overpaid a little bit on that, and so. But the guy's going to want to be comfortable, and like I said, I don't think there's going to be too many places he's going to consider. He seems like he's an East Coast guy for sure at this point, and has the family, and kind of. I don't think he wants to be bouncing around, Jerome McGinley style or anything like that too much.
Matt, last question for me. Are you a member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association?
I am not.
Okay. Well, I'm going to continue this question anyway because I kind of catered to this. If you were a member, would you be happy with your vote for awards being exposed to the public?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was in the association before I worked for NHL.com, I always published my votes. I think I pretty much did it. I don't know if they had any rules about it at the time, but I used to just put them up in my blog back then. I didn't care. It's not a vote for president or something. It's like
right. No,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why everyone's so torn about that. I don't know what the issue is. It's like if you're gonna you're whether you're a beat writer or a columnist, you're paid to make these decisions, and why wouldn't you want to? Hey, it's a free story, right? You don't have to work that day. You just publish your ballot.
Exactly. I think more or less it was the backlash that it could cause from like people on social media that just want to attack everything that they think is wrong.
Yeah, well, you know what? They'll own up to your votes. I mean, you see sometimes the results. They publish the results. They publish every vote recorded, and you'll see like I remember the year Tyler Sagan got a Selke vote. It's like, own up to that. Who the hell did that?
Or someone gave Krug a Norris vote last year, remember?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. Are you being silly about it? And it's the same thing. I mean, this probably goes back to the Baseball Hall of Fame where guys are always voting for their friends. You'll always see 2 or 3 votes at the end for some, fifth starter who was a nice guy to somebody and got a vote. And it's the same thing. It's like, if you're going to throw a vote in because a guy's nice to you or something, then, own up to it. I mean, geez, it's not the end of the world. And if you can't take the social media backlash, then stay off social media for a couple of days. I mean, or just don't make a stupid vote. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, I always say that that Lady Bing voting is such a toss-up. I mean, you could vote for 1,000 people. I don't even know what they base it on. Lady Bing, they don't, for some reason, defensemen can't win Lady Bing. I never heard, you can't have a gentlemanly defenseman. So that's one that's always, I bet you would see some funny things and it would just get a good laugh. I mean,
Randy Carlo.
Yeah, exactly. Who was it that was saying that, I don't know if it was Hockey Central or it was, it might have been on Nessa. They were talking about maybe Chara should be like a Lady Bing because he could kill you and he doesn't. So genuinely that way, it's true. It's like, so that would be, the one thing I'd be like a little embarrassed if I threw something in and then I'm sure somebody would find something wrong with my, 4th place Lady Bing to tell me that, oh, this guy got in this fight once or he spit on somebody. I don't know. It's like, but whatever. Just have a laugh about it. Don't take it so. I hate people that take this stuff so seriously. And most of the time I try to stay out of awards debate at all. I mean, I bet you that Marchand story I wrote today on the Heart, I bet you that's the first awards-centric story I've written in years because it just gets so silly and people take it so seriously. And it's just, you know what? The fans and the media care more about these awards than the players do. That's for sure.
Yeah, if they're not getting bonus for it, they don't care.
Exactly.
Court, you good?
Yeah, well, I got one more.
Okay.
One really quick one. What do you think the grade is now with the whole trade deadline? It's been a month now since it's happened, and everybody freaked out. Like people were losing their mind over 3rd-round draft picks and this and that. What grade do you give now after a month now after what Sweeney did?
For Sweeney or for the team or
for Sweeney? What he pulled off?
I mean, I don't remember what I gave him the last time I talked to you, but it's got to be a B+ or an A-. Yeah, I guess an A- at this point. I mean, the Rick Nash thing was working. Holden's been huge. I mean, where would they be if they had to put Paul Postma in the positions that Nick Holden is in right now, right?
Exactly.
And Tommy Wingles, whatever, he is what he is. I mean, that draft pick, you can recoup that draft pick so easily. I mean, first of all, you can trade, somebody's rights or something and get a low pick, or you can, with the way the college free agency is, and we don't know if they're going to, maybe catch this Brickley kid or someone else who's out there. I wouldn't worry too much about that. What was it, a 3rd that they gave up?
Yeah, I wasn't worried about anything.
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean,
I freaked out about it a little bit, but it was only like a day or two. And I calmed down.
Look at it also. I mean, they're getting these kids to leave school early, too. I mean, I didn't know Trent Frederick was coming out that quick. I mean, they're going to be so loaded up. You don't even want to use that draft pick because you can't have too many contracts and you can't have too many guys coming up for deals. So
right.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? Like Calgary needs picks. We all know that now. That's the biggest joke in the lane.
So yeah, I mean, you can't blame them for the trade deadline. And you know, it's one of those years where everything they've touched turned to gold. I mean, you can't. And every time they plug one of these kids in, the guy scores and does something great. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think. But Jabrusk scored in his first game. Donato scored in his first game. McAvoy scored in his first game.
And look
what
what
regular season game, I should say. McAvoy. Yeah,
right. And look what Grizzlick's turning into, and it's just amazing. You got to wonder if this. You can't imagine this run could keep going like this, right? I mean, they're not gonna. But who knows? I mean, I don't know what to say.
I just knocked on wood there.
All right, everybody, please go find Matt Kalman on Twitter. He's at Matt Kalman. Read his work at cbsboston.com and NHL Network, NHL.com. Matt, thank you so much for joining us again. Always a great guest, and hope to get to talk to you during the playoffs sometime if you have a moment.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll definitely do that. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good night.
Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 90% rate. Ben Bishop.
Backhand scores! Wow, what a goal!
Andy Green. And Ryan Miller were stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you are a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey. Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow @collegehockey.
Champions of the college hockey world!
Puck gets under the skate of Nicky Petty, and Jack Studnicka, shorthanded breakaway, scores! Tucks it in underneath Cole Ceci, and it's a 1-0 Oshawa lead. Now McLeod mishandles, and Donato tries to make a pay. Here's Donato. In deep, Ryan Donato curls and scores! A highlight reel goal for Ryan Donato.
To make something happen. Goes to his left, in front, and that's Trent Frederick on the one-time redirect. Frederick with his fourth, and Team USA now up 8-2.
Hey Bruins fans, welcome back for another exciting week of Boston Bruins prospect talk, as always, and hopefully for the near future, my friend Josh B is going to join us. He's here with me now. He writes for shippinguptocauseway.com website, does a fantastic job updating everything that's going on in Providence and other areas of the American Hockey League. So Josh, welcome back again, sir. Been a pleasure.
Always good to be here. Yeah, man. I love talking prospects with you guys. So, pretty exciting week, I got to say, for the Providence Bruins. Last night they played against Lehigh Valley, and they played the night before that against Lehigh Valley. And man, what games! Holy cow!
Yeah, it basically all started last week on Saturday night when the Lehigh Valley Phantoms shut out the Providence Bruins 3-0. But I'm gonna go back to Sunday's game, Sunday afternoons. No, there wasn't a game last week.
Yes, there was.
Oh, there was.
Yep.
Actually, I got it right in front of me. So they played Bridgeport, and that really started the week for us to talk to. And currently, as of last night, they're on a 3-game winning streak. So let's jump right in with that. On Sunday, March 18th, 2018, from the Dunk in Providence, Rhode Island, the Providence Bruins came out with a pretty good 4-1 victory over the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. First period, Providence, Connor Clifton scores his fourth from Cross and Frederick at the 0:40. 40 seconds into the period, gets things started. Remaining in the first period, Providence, Austin Zarnik scores his 21st from Agostino and Postma on the power play at 8:18. And Jordan Swartz scores his 19th from Zarnik and Fitzgerald at 11:52. jump into the second period. Providence Jakobsborg scores his second professional goal from Hennessy and Hughes at 15:55, which was a sweet move coming from the blue line and just roofed it.
Absolutely. What a snipe by that guy. And if you watched his form taking that shot, Mark, I don't know as if I've seen a better wrist shot taken than that was. I mean, everything about it, you kind of saw him catch the puck and cool as a cucumber too. Like, he just looked like he knew it. He knew he was going to score on this, and he just caught the puck, scooped it, did a nice little kind of drag in with a swan dive, and the puck was in the back of the net before the goalie or anybody else realized it. It was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, I watched that game myself and that goal, and I was quite impressed with that. He had the little leg lift going on, the off-balance leg lift, which I thought might have gotten goaltender Gozleski off balance a little bit and kind of went down a little early with the body fake. But regardless, an all-pro shot right there. I was impressed with the way he maneuvered along the blue line and worked his way down in between the little before the hash marks. But regardless,
it was a good hockey IQ move too, because you're right. He knew exactly where to go, kind of based on the puck movement. So not only was the shot good, but his maneuver right into where he should be was also top-notch.
Jump into the third period in this game against Bridgeport. There was no scoring, so it ends in 4-1 in regulation. Shots on goal were Providence 43 to Bridgeport's 45. A lot of shots in lately for the Baby Bees, which is good, but they're definitely capitalizing on their opportunities. The power play was 1 for 3. And McIntyre got the win. Also to note that the attendance has been increasingly better at the Baby Bees games, and this one had just over 9,100 fans in attendance. So,
yeah, people are taking notice. And another good thing about that game is after getting shut out in Lehigh Valley, we're talking Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is not exactly next door. They come home and play a 3:05 matinee and come out with their hair on fire against a team that usually kind of gives them problems. I mean, up till that game, Providence was 4-4-1 against the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. So they came out strong against a team that was giving them kind of issues, and it just speaks to their character. I think that as the season has gone along, the Baby Bees have kind of, you've seen the poise really develop amongst the young kids who are developing at this stage. And man, it was a real character win in addition to being a good stats win as well.
And speaking of character win, great segue there, sir. We gotta talk about the game on Friday night, March 23rd, against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the division-leading Lehigh Valley Phantoms from the Dunkin' Donuts Center. This one, I mean, regardless, it's 2 points. We're looking at this win as a potential second, maybe third round matchup in the playoffs, called the Cup playoffs. So, frustrating for me. I don't like seeing games like this because I don't know what happened to the defense. It was just too back and forth to me. Couldn't hold the lead. It's just very uninspired hockey to me. But they did put it together to get the win off of the best team in the Atlantic. So, starting off in the first period, Ryan Fitzgerald. This was his show.
It really was.
He scores his 16th from Zarnik and Johansson at 10:07. We jump to the second period. Colby Cave, who's been hot lately, scores his 10th from Clifton and Solaric at 5:05. And Providence Trent Frederick, my boy, scores his first professional goal at 11:05.
It was kind of a weird goal too, if I remember. It just looked. He was at the side of the net, and all of a sudden, the puck was in the net.
Yeah, from what I got, it was basically like a 2-on-1, 2-on-1.5 kind of situation, and they were all crashing the net, and it looked like Trent meant to pass it, but then it hits something and it goes into the net. Regardless of how it goes, it's his first professional goal, and he was excited about it. So
good for him. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a tally is a tally is a tally, and that was sweet because I saw exactly who scored the goal, and you're like, yeah, you got excited about that.
Oh, I did too.
It's nice to see these kids hitting the score sheet. Like it was a good moment.
And to round off the second period, Josh Hennessy scores his 10th from Solaric and Agostino at 18:44. No Providence Bruins goals in the third period. In overtime, Providence Ryan Fitzgerald scores his 17th from McIntyre at 1:06 in the overtime.
Which was, I mean, not, I'm sorry I got to describe it like this, but McIntyre had some big cojones because he could have covered the puck up. Instead, he throws the puck out to Fitzgerald, who just stomps right down the ice, marches right down there, kind of dipsy-doodles around the defense, and kind of dipsy-doodles around Dustin Tokarski, who was in the Lehigh net, and
who's having a great season.
Yeah, exactly. Tokarski is no pushover. So for Fitzgerald to go and not only fake out the defense, but then to fake out Tokarski as well. I mean, that was a sweet play. That was really the Ryan Fitzgerald show on Friday night.
It certainly was, and I want to get on Ryan Fitzgerald, but let me just finish this up real quick. The shots on goal for Providence were 34-31. The power play was 0-for-2. McIntyre with the win, 27 saves on 31 shots. And the attendance, again, was up high at over 9,200. So Ryan Fitzgerald is just, to me, becoming the really quiet prospect that with tremendous upside.
Mm-hmm.
And he's another one that's subjected to the stat watchers, that he's just not producing properly or gauging the game properly. But for those who do watch the games, and I follow a bunch of guys on Twitter that like yourself and a few others that put the time in to watch the AHL live feeds when we can't be there in person, and I've been tremendously impressed with him. He does all the little things so well. Yeah, and I like the way he's got skill, speed, and aggressiveness. Those are three major things that I look at in a developing player. I mean, if you don't have aggressiveness, you're basically, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but you're like a Gretzky on the ice. You have two great attributes, but you're missing one important thing in a game like the speed and the style of today's game. When you have all those attributes together, it makes you a good pro. And he is a good pro, and I believe that he will be in the mix in the Boston Bruins sooner or later. He's got ties to Massachusetts. He's got ties to the Bruins with his father. Spending his short time in Boston. So I believe he's got tremendous upside. But it's just, when is he going to be able to fit into this National Hockey League lineup with the current contract? So
I want to say honestly that once Tim Schaller departs the Bruins, because I think Schaller is playing himself into a raise that the Bruins probably can't afford, Ryan Fitzgerald is going to be the next Tim Schaller. That's my current projection. I mean, that's subject to change, but he just has that kind of workman utility role that I think Fitzgerald's going to fit it right in there and just going to slot right in with probably little to no need for transition. He's that far along in his development.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that say that Solaric could be that kind of person that could take over a player like Schaller too, but you need that center guy though, and what I like about Solaric is he's versatile on the wing.
Absolutely.
I have seen him take a few draws and so on. He's a big guy and could muscle his way into winning a faceoff, but he's generally a guy that I'd like to see on the wing.
Yeah. My only concern about Peter Cehlarik is that he's an injury. He's kind of injury prone. It seems like every time that he's gotten his shot, I was actually just talking about this with Ty. By
the way, what's up with you and all this forward movement? You're talking to like me, which is naturally cool. and Ty Anderson from WEEI. I mean, you're taking a huge step into your progression in your own little project.
I mean, Mark, honestly, I think what started it all was talking to you guys. And I don't mean like to, blow sunshine up your ass, as I like to say, but I think once I started getting into just talking on a more regular basis, it started to become more natural, and it started to become, hey, I can ask things of other people, and I don't feel like I'm being kind of a nudge. I think that's one of my problems, is that I think I'm too annoying sometimes. so like when I go to ask people for stuff, I'm like, oh geez, I hope that they're not like, oh, that annoying guy. So
no, it's good.
I think being able to talk to you kind of on a more consistent basis it's almost been empowering. So I really appreciate this prospect talk, not just for the fact that we get to talk, but for the fact that it really contributes to a better sense of self-worth about the projects that I'm doing. So, I one of those things I just got to say, hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, dude. It's been a real pleasure having you aboard, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's no, you're doing a great job, and that's the same thing that I did. Not to get off topic here, but I was the same kind of way. I was just like, I really shouldn't be asking these people because they have jobs and they're really busy. But the gratifying moment is when they did respond to you, and they did want to talk to you and generally be a good person. There's a lot of people out there, Boston Bruins writers, that I'm really not a fan of. That I have asked questions and gotten the, do your own research and blah blah blah. So. Regardless, it's a step forward for you. You're doing a great job, and
appreciate it.
I wish nothing but the best. And I'm wicked thrilled that I can have somebody else to talk prospects with, not just be the puppet guy and reading anything that I wrote. So it's just good to have another voice in the mix.
Exactly, and I feel like the more that we talk about stuff like this and kind of get more of a dialogue, like a back and forth going, it seems like the prospect talk becomes more of a it kind of takes on a life of its own. It seems like it's become more of a living, sentient being instead of just being, like you said, kind of something that you read off a page, and you kind of it's kind of not like dull, but it's kind of it's like one dimensional. Now there's two people talking. It's more multi-dimensional. There's just a lot more depth to it because you get two different angles. It's cool. It's really, really cool, and I appreciate that we gotta get this whole dialogue, like I was saying, going.
Yeah. I just think it's cool that you bring in the big words, the big college education words to the show.
I guess having a degree does kind of help.
I'm learning myself, so.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I bring a lot of the $5 words along with me.
No, that's cool.
One of my nicknames in college was actually Webster because of some of the random words that I would pull out of the dictionary that people would be like, what? Is that a real word?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But
anyways, to get back to Cehlarik, I mean, I feel like he's got it. He's got that kind of NHL development, and I think he can be more of a regular if he stays healthy. It's just you can't plug somebody into a lineup that's a big question mark on the durability side. That if you don't know that he's going to be in there reliably, how can you make a spot for him? It's kind of like, let's say you have a boss who you take a bunch of sick days and your boss starts thinking, hey, can I actually trust this guy? Like, is he going to be reliable? Is he going to be there to kind of fulfill his role? So I think that's what's going on with Cehlarik, unfortunately, because Peter's such a good guy. I mean, he's such a good guy on the ice and off the ice, too. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, he's a good character.
Yeah. Getting back to the weekend games, last night, and this contest didn't go back and forth like it did on Friday night.
Oh my goodness, this was so. I barely sat down in my seat before they had scored the second goal.
Yeah, this one was what I call bipolar by far this weekend.
Yep.
And and I got to say this too. This was Star Wars weekend, and I'm really not into Star Wars. I did not enjoy those uniforms at all. It was very confusing for me. I couldn't see numbers. I mean, the Providence Bruins feed on AHL Live isn't great anyway, but then you add the element of those damn jerseys, and it's like, I loved the 2 points the 4 points they snuck out of the weekend, But that whole Star Wars thing was just a little too much for me. But regardless, am I to believe that this was for a fundraiser?
It might have been. I really, truly do not know off the top of my head.
If it was
that adds a better dimension onto it, though.
Yeah, if it was for a fundraiser or a good cause, I get it and I understand it, and kudos to everybody that went because it was a jam-packed weekend. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. I understand, but minor league hockey just really bites onto all this stuff, and that's why I really like the NHL, and they won't do it. So.
Yeah. They can be a little gimmicky at times, unfortunately, but you try to see through the gimmickiness of it and just watch the guys play their game.
Yeah, and it is for family fun, and I get that too, that whole element, but I just, it just seems like it's getting crammed down your throat on a daily basis. But we got to talk about this game anyway. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms come back to the dunk for the second game in as many nights, And what a change. The first period, Colby Cave scores his 11th from Agostino and Tommy Cross at 1:01 on the power play. I'm really liking the way these Bruins are attacking in the first couple minutes and getting these goals lately because they were on the end of giving up the goals within a minute, and a lot had to do with the Zane McIntyre factor. But Cave on the power play. At Providence, Peter Solaric scores his 10th from Agostino and Cross at 3:21. Great to see Peter back in the lineup. He's been, like you said, been injured. The second period, Providence, Zach Senishin, my boy, scores his 9th from Bleeding Cave at 5:29. And Providence, Juna Kompanen scores his first from Hargrove and Lozon at 19:01. And then jump into the third period. Providence Kompanen. I can't say that name. It's terrible.
It's all right.
Scores
Juna Kompanen.
Yeah, I got to read that sheet on the Providence Bruins media thing.
Good
he scores from Hargrove and Zaboral at 3:13. His second career professional goal. Which is a good one. He played very well last night. Providence Solaric scores his 11th and the second goal of the game from Agostino and Emil Johansson from 11:53. Shots on goal with 35 to 19 Lehigh Valley shots. That was amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, last night's game, and I think I tweeted this out, that the Providence Bruins held the best team in the Atlantic Division to 10 shots after 40 minutes.
Let's see. After 40 minutes, it looks like they had 12 shots, so you're very close.
Okay, all right.
But, yeah, exactly. And then the first period, that was amazing. 17 shots to 5 shots. It's like like you said, kind of a bipolar defense. The defense was almost non-existent Friday night, and then Saturday night, it's as if we have the best defense in the whole league.
Yeah, it's something that Jay Leach must have said behind closed doors that really ramped this up because
for sure.
You still do have to see this team, I believe, once or twice more the regular season and the potential, second, third round matchup in the Calder Cup playoffs. So, you need these points regardless. And you need to beat teams like that are going to be in front of you. The power play was 1 for 4, and Bennington with the win improves his record to 15-7-1. He stopped 18 of 19 shots, and 10,472 on hand last night to watch that thumping of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the numbers there for the attendance. That's impressive for a minor league hockey team.
And hopefully that grows going into the 2018 Calder Cup playoffs. I can only see that happening. The AHL schedule can be so weird, and it's a best of 5 the first round.
Right.
And I remember watching the Manchester Monarchs and Providence Bruins a couple of years ago, and it almost seemed that even though they were the higher seed, they were still playing because of travel reasons, and I hate that. travel reasons gave the advantage in games to the lower seed, which I just don't get in the AHL. But hopefully, with more teams coming into the NHL, is going to call for more teams in the American Hockey League and kind of even things out. And actually, before I get to the, you know what? I'll just say this now, and then I'll mention what we talked about last week. The next game for the Providence team is Wednesday, March 28th against the potential Calder Cup first round playoff matchup against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. And that would be game 1 of 10 remaining on the 2017-18 season. Last week we talked about the winning percentage setting the tone for where you sit, in your division. Well, the reason why that is happening is because there is teams out west that are only playing 68 games a year. All those guys that did the East Coast shift over to the West to get their prospects closer, they play less games. The AHL and the AHL East plays a 76-game regular season, so that had to be factored in.
Look at Mark dropping the knowledge today.
I'm not going to take credit for that. I cannot take credit for that, and I don't remember who tweeted that to me. I wish I remembered it, and I should have written it down in my show notes, but whoever it was, and I hope you're listening, thank you very much, because I did not know that.
That actually makes a whole lot of sense, and it kind of explains why winning percentage is being used as the barometer for playoff seedings. That's good.
Yeah, it actually sets the tone for the conversation of travel and how important it is for these teams to save money.
Right, for sure.
And that's why we get the Bridgeports 12 games a year. That's why we get the Springfield Thunderbirds 12 games a year. So
it's almost like you have divisions within your divisions.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you might have, such and such team in your division, but it seems like there's a small subset of teams that will play each other a lot more, just like you said, given the travel circumstances. Like I know that the 3 Pennsylvania teams, Wilkes-Barre, Lehigh Valley, and Hershey, will all do more games against each other because they're in such a easy geographic location for them all to travel to each other pretty reasonably well without much difficulty because they're all in the same state.
Yeah. And like I think I mentioned to you last week, by having teams so close and playing them so much, you're always practicing on a daily basis. No day is taken away for travel. So it does make sense to keep the legs moving and everybody in shape for when they get called up or just game time ready. So
exactly.
Some quick notes on the Baby Bees. Austin Czarnik leads the team with 21 goals. He leads the team in assists with 40, and he leads the team with 61 points. And I believe he is still ranked in the top 3 in AHL scoring, so good for him. Plus minus leader 29 is Jordan Schwartz. He's having an outstanding season, and I'm not a big fan of Tommy Cross. I'll just tell you that right now. I know we've been over this. He's got a role to play in everything, but I have to say congratulations on being he passed Peter Laviolette for the most points by a player, I believe.
I thought it was most games played by a player.
Oh man, I hacked this one up. I thought it was points, but it could be games.
Yeah, I believe it was games. I think they tweeted that out a couple of nights ago.
Hang on a second. Cross passed Peter Laviolette for second all-time in P. Bruins defenseman scoring list.
Oh, I was wrong.
March
I hacked
16th.
that one up.
Austin Czarnik also. Yeah. So.
By the way, yeah, Czarnik is top 3. I just decided to look that up.
Nice. Goaltenders games. Zane McIntyre has 42 minutes. He has 2,437. GAA goals against average. Jordan Bennington with a 202. Save percentage. Jordan Bennington with a 22.7. And wins, Zane has 23. Shutouts, Zane has 6. Another thing I wanted to touch on is the goals per period have really stepped up since February after that dreadful January month of games. But the first period goals, they're leading 55-49. Second period, 57-51. Third period, 68-52. So, and that's without counting the overtime is 7-3 and 6-2 on the shootout. So, they've outscored their opponents 193-157. So things are starting to ramp up, which is good because with 10 games remaining in playoffs, you got to be ready for any scenario.
Exactly. You want to be getting hot at the right time, and it really seems like the Providence squad is doing just that. They're peaking, for the most part, in every category right now when they need to be. So that'll hopefully carry through April and hopefully right into May.
Yeah, that January record, 4-7-0-1. And that, I mean, you went 11-2-1 in December, 4-7-0-1 in January, 7-3-0 in February, and so far right now in March, you got 7-3-0 record. So things are starting to heat up. Yep. I think they're starting to buy into, they want to get this team back to an Eastern Conference Finals matchup.
Exactly.
And make that next step to a Calder Cup championship that they haven't won since 98, 99, I believe.
And I feel like with the prospects that Sweeney's been acquiring in, obviously, the Boston system, that they really have the talent pool to do it, too. They've got so much depth almost at every position now just because of the additions of, say, Sherman, Trent Frederick, Una Koppinen, Cameron Hughes. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these kids have just been recently added, and now you've got your depth chart in the Providence sphere is so much deeper now than it was, say, back in January, February.
Right. And I really hope the Bruins go as far as they possibly can.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
if something happens in an early round, to chase that Calder Cup, there are available players in the Bruins lineup that can go down, and it's the playoffs, and I don't believe that there's a waiver priority. So,
right, yeah, I think once you get to a certain point in the season, it kind of changes ever so slightly.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure how. So, this is more of me talking kind of off the cuff, spitballing, but yeah, I think it does change a little bit in the come playoff time. Speaking of new prospects, this is kind of more of a fun thought than anything else, but you know what I really want to see down in Providence is the defensive pairing of Chris Breen and Wiley Sherman. You've got 6'8" and 6'7", tallest defensive pairing in the AHL right there. That would be amazing.
Those guys are monsters, man.
Oh yeah. If you maybe I'll tweet out the picture later on, but there's a picture of my wife standing next to Chris Breen, and she's like 5'3", and she comes up to maybe his
ankle.
His yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Exactly.
Yeah, those guys are monsters. But yeah, that'd be a great matchup. I'll definitely have to see if I can send a message to Jay Leach and see if he can change that.
Yeah. I would love. I've been watching each of the lineups, kind of when they publish, when Mark ever publishes the lineups before each game. I've been just hoping to see Breen and Sherman side by side because that would be filthy.
Oh yeah. All right, going to the East. Yeah, East Coast Hockey League, Atlanta Gladiators. Dan Vladar played in 2 games last week. On Monday, March 19th, in a 3-2 loss in a shootout to South Carolina. He made 33 saves on 35 shots. Thursday, March 22nd, 6-2 win in regulation over the Cincinnati Cyclones. He made 25 saves on 27 shots. And so far this year, he is 16, 17, 1-1, 2.93 goals against average, and a .912 save percentage. The Gladiators have 4 games remaining in the regular season, and their next game is at home against the Kalamazoo team. So I don't believe the Atlanta Gladiators are going to make the playoffs. I think they're still sitting in 9th in the East Coast League. So we'd definitely see Dan Vladar make the jump to the American Hockey League to join the efforts of Zane McIntyre and Jordan Bennington. I don't think he's going to get any playing time. I think that Jay Leach and the Providence organization are going to roll with the 2 guys that have gotten them successful this far. So he will be in the mix as like a black ace. So, and if anything happens, he'll be ready. And he's been playing very well when he's in his time in the American Hockey League. So, if there's an opportunity for him to play, I'd like to see it. But I kind of do want to, even though I'm not happy with the Bennington addition. He has played very well and helped this organization anytime that he stepped in the crease. So should be fun.
And a big shout out to him. He's such a class act.
Yeah,
Bennington is such a great guy. He just, if you got to be able to speak to a guy's off the ice character as well as on the ice character, and Bennington's just amazing. I really if he ever listens to this, Jordan, you're a fantastic guy. Just everything that you do is just so classy. So I not only for the play, but I'm glad just for the kind of presence that he brings. I'm glad that he's here. I mean, I understand that it would be nicer to have Dan Vladar playing in that spot, but Bennington's been good.
There's definitely a reason for that, and that is up to John Ferguson Jr., who is running the Providence franchise, and regardless of what I think, in my opinion, I really wanted to see Vladar take that opportunity, but there might be something there that I'm not seeing. They're professionals, I am not, so. But regardless, I got to give the guy kudos. He steps into an organization he's never played for and just immediately bought right in. So, and it's my belief and through the AHL and reading all these articles that the St. Louis Blues will have an American Hockey League franchise next season. So I'm assuming that Bennington will probably be their main guy wherever that team lands.
Which is totally fine. I'm actually kind of glad that Don Sweeney's done nothing to kind of pry Bennington away from the St. Louis Blues organization, because we've got enough prospects coming down the pipeline that we don't need him. And it would be kind of a waste of a draft pick or what have you to bring him into the fold. I mean, great guy, but I'm glad that we're parting ways at the end of this year.
Yeah, definitely. Jumping down to Canadian junior hockey, I only have 2 prospects that I do want to mention. That Daniel Bukak is a defenseman that plays for Brandon, and he was a 7th round pick of the Bruins in 2016, I believe. He's a good, solid kid, big defenseman, doesn't score a bunch of points. I had a conversation with Brandon's son, beat writer Perry Bjergsen. He spoke really highly of him, but he really hasn't gotten into a ton of games because of off-season surgery that went deep into the 2017-18 regular season. So, best of luck to him. I mean, he's definitely going to play a role sometime in the depth chart, moving up, maybe career AHLer. I'm not sure. Don't want to set too low standards, and I don't want to set too high standards yet because he really hasn't shown me a ton, and I really don't have the opportunity to catch a lot of the games, but I do want to get back into that. So,
fortunately, I was going to say, fortunately, he has playoffs coming up against the Medicine Hat Tigers.
Yeah, and Medicine Hat, they trucked over Brandon on Friday night, I believe. It was a 7-2 loss.
Oh, yeah.
And Medicine Hat is really, really good this year. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Moose Jaw. Moose Jaw is really good.
Medicine Hat's pretty good from what I've seen as well. But regardless, yeah, I mean, they got trucked.
Yeah. So I'm not sure when their next game is going to be, but Hopefully they'll be a little more ready. But in the Ontario Hockey League, we do have two prospects that are with the Oshawa Generals. And on Friday night, March 23rd, at the Meridian Center in Niagara, against the Niagara Ice Dogs, the Oshawa Generals fell to them 4-2. Second period goal, Jack Studnicka gets his first of the year at 17-18, and that was a shorthanded goal. And let me tell you, I've seen the highlight video of this, and it was absolutely amazing how he did a spinorama and like got so close to the goalie and got the goal. So this kid can do it all. He's a big, rangy center. Gets in the dirty areas, real crafty hands, and he's got some speed on him. So another player that I keep talking about that I really look forward to seeing him either in Providence or if he makes that ultimate jump to the NHL, which remains to be seen. But the kid's just got great attributes, and I'm glad that he's a prospect.
I'm not one for hot takes usually. Like, I try to stay away from it like cancer, but I think he's got the potential to be our next number one center.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
I'm that high on Captain Jack. I really love his game. I mean, thanks to us kind of talking, I've been getting more and more involved in the OHL prospects. So the more that I see of him, the more that I see that real high-end talent from him. Like, there's something special in that kid, and I really love his game. You're right. It's a very complete 200-foot game with the kind of qualities, the leadership qualities, the poise. He's got a great shot, good release, very good skating abilities, and he's got a good IQ at the same time, which is nice that you see this kind of development at an early age from him, because you don't always need certain other skills in your toolbox if you have high hockey IQ, and you can develop the other tools later on down the line. And it seems like Captain Jack really has got that kind of high IQ. So it's going to be fun to watch him and his development. Like, I really think that he's got top 1 or 2 potential easily.
Absolutely. Not only did he have a second period goal, his first of the 2018 OHL playoffs, he also assisted on Oshawa's Brassard goal on the power play at 16:59 in the third period. So that was a good. He had a good game even though it lost. But who really kind of struggled to me was Keyser, and it might have been because of the Ice Dogs were just a better team. I mean, he made 32 saves on 36 shots, and I thought on the other end of the ice, and I know this kid very well. His name is Stephen Dillon, and he was actually a Bruins camp invite in 2016 and really wowed the crowd. He was so good at camp that there were multiple big outlets reporting on him and how well he did. So it's not indicative of what he does in the OHL. It's what he can do outside in a professional environment. So I was kind of upset that he's still undrafted. And even though I got to see him in Boston and talk with him, and family members that traveled from where he lives in, I believe in the New York area, that he wasn't picked up, wasn't signed, nothing. So, but he's having a decent season over in Niagara, and it's still undrafted. I can't believe that, but he's been rumored to be an appearance at Pittsburgh Penguins camp last summer, so I'm sure he'll get signed sooner or later. But Keyser, this is the thing about goaltending in this series. It's going to come down to it. It doesn't matter how many goals you score and so on. Of course it does, but what I'm trying to say is if you put the backup goaltender in, which I don't know his name, you're not winning the series. You're not even going to have a chance. Keys has been so important to this Oshawa team this season, regardless of his injuries and time off. He's really backstopped a really good year, and and first as a Bruins prospect when he signed a free agent deal back in September of 2017. So, or October of 2017. But these guys, Oshawa gets back on the ice for Game 2 today, Sunday, March 25th at 2 p.m. from the Meridian Center against Niagara. So hopefully they can tie this series up and make a run. So I'd like to see him keep playing, but then again, if they do happen to bow out a little bit for unfortunate circumstances, then those guys are available too to join the Providence Bruins for at least the workouts and be around the environment. So
exactly, yeah. So it would put them in kind of that professional environment. Maybe they'll do an ATO like they did with why am I blanking on them? Like Trent Frederick and Cam Hughes and all that. But I mean, it would be great. Yeah, it would really be great for the Oshawa squad to kind of split the series away, and then you're a little bit less frantic when you come home. You don't have to really play with your hair on fire, although you should because it's the playoffs, but you're a little bit more relaxed coming home if you're not down 2-0. So it's been good to see the play of these kids. I mean, you watch them and you get even that more excited for the future. I mean, as Bruins fans, thanks to Don Sweeney, we've been blessed to have such a deep prospect pool. Spoiled. That's a good word for it. And you watch like the kids in the junior leagues and the developmental leagues, and you say, this is like what we have now isn't even the full picture of what prospects we look forward to coming down the line. Like I'm amazed at the drafting and development that's gone on in just the past 3 years or so.
Yep.
I remember when Chiarelli was fired in 15, and it was kind of a dark time because the next year was brutal. The year after that was when we were introduced to McAvoy, and then it begun to all make sense, and you begun to really see the picture of this team develop. And as you start to watch, like you were saying, Brandon and the ECHL and the OHL, you get that fuller picture of, boy, we're not even close to the full picture of what we can be in the future. We're really getting restocked in such an amazing way. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch.
Absolutely. I have to apologize for last week because I did mention that the NCAA playoffs were over for all of the Bruins prospect, and it was a big lie. University of Michigan, Jack Becker.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah. Last night, his Wolverine team beat Northeastern 3-2 and knocked the Huskies out of the postseason, NCAA postseason, on March 24th in Worcester, Mass. Next game is today, March 25th, against Boston University from the DCU Center in Worcester, Mass. So the Delwood, Minnesota native had 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points in the 2017-18 regular season, and has 1 goal in these playoffs dating back to the Big Ten tournament against Wisconsin. So this is his freshman year. He's just been kind of a hit or miss guy. I think he's still learning the game. I thought his game with the Sioux Falls Stampede, I think that was the team that he played for in the United States Hockey League, was better, but the adjustment might have slowed things down. So I kind of want to project him. And he's a late round pick, so I kind of want to project him to be better offensively sophomore and junior year. So big rangy center. He does have a lot of in particular attributes that you can focus on, but he's by far a Frederick or a Fitzgerald or anything like that that we have now in Providence. So it just, I mean, look at Pavel Datsyuk. That guy was a 7th round pick, and look how his career turned out. You know, you never really know with these players until you actually see the full potential.
I think there was a line that Trent Frederick said that I wrote about in one of my midweek articles, that it boils down to, it doesn't matter where your draft position is. It matters what you do with the opportunity that you're given. I know that's kind of like motivational BS at times, but he's really got it. Like, if you can develop your own skills with the opportunities and the talents that you have, you can be Pavel Datsyuk.
Absolutely.
And I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that any of these kids can develop and become NHL mainstays as long as they're willing to really work at it. And that's kind of what Don Sweeney's built. It seems like a lot of these kids are really high character, kind of high quality prospects in terms of they've got great ethic, they've got great work ethic, they've got a good head on their shoulders. And maybe one, I'm thinking of one, I don't want to mention his name, but you can think of one that maybe doesn't have quite that character mold, but it just seems like a lot of them have a really great sense of just camaraderie with their teammates and a lot of the intangibles, and then you can build the tangibles from there. If you don't have a good head on your shoulders, then I don't think you're going to go very far. So it's not only that Don Sweeney's building a good skilled team, but he's also building a good character team as well. And you kind of see him with that with the Boston Bruins team right now. Like, I was talking to Ty again here just to bring that conversation up again, and he was saying that the room is just so excited to be there and to go to work in the morning and to play their game and to play for each other, that I think that's what that Sweeney's not only building a team, but he's also building a culture along with that team. And it's not quite the big bad Bruins of old, but it's a team that wants to be there and a team that loves putting on that spoked bee and going out and playing every night for their teammates and for their pride as well. So I think it speaks to a lot of kind of the development and drafting that we've done, is that it's not only we've kind of picked up kids with good tools and in their toolbox, but kids who've got a lot of character behind them and who contribute to that room in addition to contributing on the score sheet.
Absolutely, and we can both attest to one player that just absolutely surprised. It surprised me particularly. I knew the kid was going to sign. I just didn't think it was going to be possible or have room for him to play this year, and that's Ryan Donato. Yep. I thought for sure that he was going to be one of those guys that starts his professional career at the start of the 2018-19 season, but injuries like last year promoted certain players like McAvoy and so on. So this was the same type of scenario, and I got killed on Twitter for it. It was actually really funny to hear everybody go, "Oh, there's no room for him." I'm like, yeah, but when you talk to me in February and January and February, this was a pretty seamlessly healthy team, and
exactly
there wasn't much room for him. So regardless of what part of the season this conversation had, it's unfortunate that all these injuries are happening, but it's fortunate that he's getting in there now. And from a lot of people that I read that are closer in the Boston Bruins locker room are saying that this might be his idea of let's get this done now, because even he believes this team has a chance to win a Stanley Cup, and he wants to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any chance to be part of that
why not?
That Stanley Cup, exactly. If you can contribute even in the smallest way towards a playoff push that could end up in another Stanley Cup, do it. And here's a little humble brag. I got to say, I was there for McAvoy's first professional goal, DeBrusk's first professional goal, and now Donato's first professional goal. So I got to keep going to the Garden because I'm definitely a good luck charm for these kids.
Nice. All right, Mr. Luck Charm. We're going to wrap it up this week. Yep. Thank you so much again for joining me. I look forward to talking to you next week about pretty much the players that we discussed this week.
Exactly. See how things change in a week.
Yeah. Follow Josh's writings at shippingupthecauseway.com. He's also on blackandgoldhockey.com website as a contributor. Happy to have him. Your numbers are really, really good when you post, so keep up the awesome work.
I've noticed actually that just kind of shout you out that numbers on my site go up when you post stuff on your site. So it's not only helping you, but it's also helping me in a big way. So another thank you, Mark.
No problem. One hand washes the other, my friend. You're a solid addition to this Prospect Hour, and I'm just thrilled to have you. So you should be thrilled to follow Josh too. He's at 2Causeway on Twitter. Fantastic follow. Does a lot of watching, just like me. He's a Providence Bruins junkie. So if you want to know anything, tweet at him and ask him. He's always good to initiate contact. So,
and if I don't know, I know who to ask to get you the answer.
Right, which is not me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, Mark, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much, and I really look forward to next week. Yeah, already hyped about it.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, man. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. You can follow the guys on Twitter at blackandgold277, at Court Lalonde, and at Rob40Bruins. You can also send us an email to the show's account at blackandgoldhockeyblog@gmail.com.